On today's episode, we talk the Crown King Scramble with Kate Hansen, who ran the race in 1986 and is running again this year. Welcome everyone to the second episode of Aravaipa Trail Talk. We have a special guest today, and we're going to be talking all about the Crown King Scramble 50K. For those of you who don't know what that race is, it's coming up here on April 2nd. It's going to be the 25th running, and it's a race that started 30 years ago. And so our special guest that we have here today is Kate Hansen. She'll be running the race this year, and she also ran the very first one back in 1986. We're going to take some of your questions and speak to her a little bit about her experience with this race and talk about maybe why you want to run it. So let's start off. First off, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think I'll do a quick overview of the race, and then I want to hear a little bit more about that first year. So the race itself starts on the shores of Lake Pleasant, and it's a 50-kilometer route, point to point, and you start in the desert and follow a series of jeep roads and dirt roads all the way up to Crown King, which is an old mining town in the middle of the Prescott National Forest, and you finish at the Crown King Saloon. So yeah, let's hear a little bit about, I don't know, how did this event even come about? What was the first year like?
Well, the first year was in February, Valentine's weekend, and it was totally muddy. So we called it a mud scramble. And it started because of Bruce Wise, because he was training for Western States. So he got together with Cal Lash and Dottie Lash, and we had a couple people ride a motorcycle, and Cal drove a little truck, and we had, I think, 6 of us, and we started before Lake Pleasant. We started actually by the pavement, and we just hightailed it up the hill. I have no clue how long it took us.
Had anyone even ever run up that road before that you know of, or how did the idea come about?
Bruce had trained up there a little bit,
Okay.
So he had kind of scouted it out, and he had talked to Cal about it, and Cal was I think Cal kind of motivated him, yeah, go for it, do it. And the fact that we had somebody to support us, because back then, we didn't have race directors.
Right.
We didn't have, our races were just getting together at somebody's house, mostly Steve Papp's house, and going out and running different trails. Because that was a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many times have you run this race over the years?
Okay, well, I looked it up last night.
Okay.
I believe I've done it 18 times. I may have missed one. I know that I DNF'd once because I thought I was going to be really tough, and I was doing arnica down my throat, and I accidentally aspirated it all, and I ended up with asthma. So tried it 19 times, but sure finished 18. Yeah.
And you want to show us, you have the first year shirt.
Yeah, so like I said, we called it a mud scramble, and we designed our own shirts. So we had cactus and trees, and literally we were stopping every, I don't know, half mile or so to get the mud off of our shoes.
Oh my gosh. And I've been out there on that road when it's muddy, and it's insane. You literally have it caked on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so you guys were like supported literally by like a guy riding a motorcycle?
Yeah, we had 2 motorcycles, and I don't even remember what we ate. I mean,
Yeah.
back then, what I used to eat is, I remember carrying Boda bags and actually boiled potatoes.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything. I mean, we had cookies, and we had wine, and we had beer, but we didn't have any of that till the end, of course.
And did you guys finish up at the saloon, or?
Yeah,
okay.
we finished up in town. We definitely drank afterwards, so
Yeah.
don't ask me what happened because I don't remember the road back down or anything like that, except for lots of cans of beer. Not me, I don't drink beer. But.
Yeah. Did you feel like after that first time that this would become something, or you really had no idea? I mean, you obviously probably had enough of a fun time, even with the mud, to come back and do it again?
Yeah, we had a great time. And actually, I didn't do it for 2 years after.
Okay.
I didn't do it, as far as I can tell, I did not do it the 2 years. I think it took a year and a half or 2 years before ARR picked it up. And I definitely didn't do the first year, and I'm not sure if I did the second year or not. But back then it was Nancy Halley and Sandy Ninja, and I mean there were just a handful of women in Arizona that ran.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, seriously, it was crazy.
Yeah, and well, it's interesting because now we even have our Aravaipa women's training program, and they're training up for this race in particular.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. I told Haley, good job. Yeah, it's so different from what it was.
Neat. So yeah, let's go ahead and do a couple questions here that we got from people.
Okay.
So this one comes from Twitter, and this is Thomas O, OCD Try Guy, and he asks, has anyone run the Crown King race, then turned around and run back, or from Crown King to the start, then run the race?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I know people have bicycled back
Okay.
and not made it.
Like they bicycle right
Like
after the race or the next day?
The next day
Okay.
they thought, oh, we'll ride down. Like actually my friend Judy decided to do that and didn't make it.
Didn't make it.
Yeah, didn't make it.
I think we did have, I remember a couple years we've transported one woman's bike up and she rode back down the next day. That'd be kind of an interesting event actually.
Yeah.
Maybe
Pretty impressive.
we might have just started something here.
There you
Who
go.
knows?
Okay, for
Look
all you
it.
triathletes.
Yeah, I remember reading just kind of some of the old ultra running magazine reports, and it seemed like every other year it was either 95 degrees or there's a blizzard.
Yeah.
Which
and
makes it really
snow on the side
interesting.
of the road and little ice, but you loved it because you
Which
finally
was-
got into the pines.
Yeah. I mean, what was better? Was it better to have a really hot year, or did you appreciate the snow?
I love the snow because I
Yeah.
like the contrast of the earth, except for then you have to deal with mud.
Yeah. So TJ Cuddy from Facebook asks, it's going to be a warm one this year. Any suggestions for training to prepare for hydration and calories in such a warm climate?
I suggest that the day of the race you make sure you have something you can get wet, but that's not actually preparing beforehand. But the day of the race, wet bandanas, wet T-shirts, hats. Come to Arizona early and run.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I think he's actually a local. He's from here.
Okay, so then just run
Right.
go do Trail 100. Do 20 miles on Trail 100.
In the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's what I used
exactly.
to do. Back when I cared about
Yeah.
finishing.
Yeah, I know for me what works best is definitely training ahead of time and also preparing for race day, making sure like if you cool your body down, I mean that's what you're trying to do anyways on a hot day is your body sweats because it's trying to get some moisture on your skin for that evaporative cooling effect.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can help that process out by just dumping water on yourself or
Totally.
then you're getting ahead of the game.
And make sure you don't do all your training in the early mornings. Do go out and figure what time you're going to finish and make sure you're out on the trails now during that same time of the year, same time of the day.
Yeah. And then I think one of the saving graces of the Crown King course is as the temperatures rise in the day, you're kind of already making your way up the hill. So it's actually kind of getting a little bit cooler as you go up. It's still not, a total fix, but it does help a little bit.
And a lot of times, if we're lucky, there'll be a breeze. Like I did it 2 years ago. I was shocked. I felt fine the whole time.
Well, and the upper part of the course does have several stream crossings too.
Right.
So you can kind of dip your hat, dip your bandana in there, even in between those aid stations.
Yeah.
So
I always stay wet.
Yeah.
Highline's the same way.
Okay, this question is a follow-up from TJ, and he asks, I've heard of multiple strategies for this race. Save energy for the hills on the front 15, or head all out on the first 15 to get ahead and then power hike the tough stuff. He asks specifically me, Jamil Curry, with your strength on the uphills, I'm curious if you'll wait to turn on the gas until the latter half of the race. So what would you say for strategy?
Well, since I've been running for 30 years, ultras, so I'm very slow. I think the first 15, I wouldn't say go all out, but I'd say it's definitely very, very runnable. So run strong, but don't go all out. And yeah, you need to be a good hiker because it's uphill after that.
The second half is basically a hike. I remember I've only run this race once, but I think I mostly power hiked the second half. And I was still able to run like right around 5 hours.
No, and there's some downhills in the second half.
Yeah.
And then there's a flat coming into 822.
Fort Misery.
Yeah, Fort Misery. You're going to be so happy you get on the flats all of a sudden, and it's runnable, and and you're starting to get into the trees more, so you start feeling better, and you hear them.
Yes. Great. As far as me specifically, I'll definitely use the uphills to my advantage, I think. But I know that I'll the first 15, I will be running probably at a pretty good pace, with still leaving enough left for that second half. Because I know the climb past Fort Misery up to Orobel is definitely one of the steepest on the course. So I want to save something in the tank for, miles like 25 to 28.
Yeah, and where's that one big long downhill?
Are you talking about the very end of the race? The last 2 miles?
No, not the last 2 miles. Prior to that, there's a nice downhill.
It's probably before mile 19.
Okay.
Before Silver Mine Aid Station.
Because that's a really great place too to be able to run.
Yeah, changes it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, okay, this comes from Bradley Clark on Facebook. Why or why not is this race suitable for someone's ultra debut? Say, asking for a friend.
It's all uphill. It's not a single track.
Yeah.
It's a road. And I heard your last thing. You really do have to want it. So, I mean, it's suitable. If you really want it bad enough, you're going to finish. But it's not a run. It's more of a run hike, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's something that's attainable for someone that's never run, say, a 50K distance before?
Yeah, you want it. If you really want it, you're going to finish it. And it's so much fun to be in town. I mean, it really is a great place. You can look back and you see where you've come from and you feel like it would be fine for a first race. Yeah. But it's not a typical 50K at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more hiking.
Yep. Great. Yeah, and I would second that. I think that, and we have several women in our training program that have never run a 50K before, and they're running it this year. And I think the fact that the second half there's so much climbing, which seems kind of difficult and a little bit intimidating. I think that as long as you practice your hiking and you just keep moving forward, you're going to make it up that hill and you're going to make it to the saloon.
And if you want to have fun, you have fun. I mean, it's not, in a way, maybe it's good because you don't have to run anymore. You can hike and you can laugh with your friends and you can, you can kind of relax.
Yeah, you kind of run
You don't have to run. I mean, I remember I used to always pray for uphills because I'm more of an uphill kind of girl. Because I can walk and I can walk fast. Yeah,
and it's like an excuse to walk. Something like the Pemberton Trail 50K, you have to run every step pretty much, and it's kind of nice that hey, it's okay. It's steep. I have to hike here, and like you said, have fun. The aid stations are always a blast out there. It's really
aid station to aid station.
Yeah. So Gil Taylor asks, is there a time limit on this race, and what, if any, are the qualifications? We have an early start at 5 a.m. and a normal start at 6 a.m. and you have until 3 p.m. to make it up to the saloon. And we've got a couple intermediate cutoffs along the way. So I guess that's 9 or 10 hours. And there aren't any qualifications for this race. So it really is something we feel is attainable for most anyone that, even if you've only run a half marathon before and you do the proper training, I think it's really attainable for almost anyone. And if you really feel like you need that extra hour, we encourage taking the early start.
Plus you get all the fast people to pass you, and it's so much fun to see all of them.
Yeah, that's something that I really enjoyed. I did the normal start, and we got to pass everyone in the early start, and it was neat, because normally you don't ever get to see them out on the race course, because they're way behind you, but this one kind of gives you...
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, you see your friends, and maybe it makes you fast guys appreciate us slow people, because you realize, hey, we're trying too.
Yeah, everyone's out there covering the same distance. It's great. This comes from Janet Little on Facebook. What are your suggestions for items in the drop bag at mile 15?
Personally, also, I eat real food, so I may put in a little bit of a sandwich, like a cheese sandwich. Believe it or not, a brie and bagel. I will only eat a few bites of it, but it's fat. It's protein. It's going to stick to my, it's going to give me some energy. But you could have your hat there. Yeah, so what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if you have any special nutritional needs, I would definitely place them there. I guess you could, if you don't like running with a hat normally, which you'll definitely want on that second half, you could put a hat or a bandana there. I mean, usually it's cool enough in the first couple hours before you get to 15 that you can do without something like that.
Or whatever you eat prior to 15, you'll want to have in 15 if you don't want to carry a lot of things.
Sure. Like if you're using, a special type of fuel that we just don't offer at the aid stations or extra gels, I would say that's where you want to put those for the climb up.
Yeah, and you can always leave it there, and if you don't use it, you can pick it up at the finish.
And you could also, like it's another good place if you, start with like a light layer, like a long sleeve, you can drop it off there. And we make sure the drop bags get up to the finish line before you guys all get there. What was, I guess, kind of like your favorite highlight out of like all the times you ran? Any special stories?
No special stories, except that my favorite is when you get about, I don't know how far into it, maybe before the 7 or 8 mile aid station, you need to always look around. You always need to look behind you because it is such a cool course. You can see the winding road, and actually the whole day you need to always look behind you because you see people coming up and you see where you've been, and it's really beautiful. I mean, it's you're climbing, and all of a sudden you can see where you were, and that's probably the highlight. That's why I keep doing Crown King, is because I just like being out there. Seeing where I was. It's an accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. I second that 100%. I know that at mile 19, there's a great place. The mile 19 aid station, Silver King, you can look back and see the lake. And it looks so small and so far away. You can't believe it. You just came there a few hours before. So that's really, really something neat. And I just love the change in vegetation that happens as you climb. And it's so subtle that you don't even really notice it's happening. I remember you're in, saguaro cactus at the bottom, and then next thing you know, there's like junipers and
pinon junipers, and also the ground changes. I don't know, you can, when you're about 4 miles out or so, all of a sudden the ground, like there's more big boulders, and then the earth it's just changed color. It's changed color. And it's not just hallucinations.
Mark Shelley from Facebook asks, why is the state, Forest Service, county, etc., whoever is responsible for the Road to Crown King, unwilling to close it for 8 or so hours so that runners don't have to compete with ATVs, Jeeps, and motorcycles? This is probably one for me, but do you want to talk about just some of the frustrations of, it's just kind of a fact of this race is there's other trail users, other recreationists out there that we're sharing the trail with.
And sometimes they're really nice people. There's a lot of really great people out there that will slow down and will give you the road. I remember one year, and I don't know if this is still the way it is, but we had sheriffs patrolling it on, do you remember that? That was when you were directing it. And I remember that the sheriff asked, hey, if you have any problems. So I think they're there to support us. But the road belongs to everybody. That's another good reason to start on the early start, is that you don't have as many yahoos on the road.
Yeah, and typically they don't, that crowd doesn't get started at 6 in the morning, but, by 9 or 10 a.m. they're usually out there. We put up signage to try and discourage them from using it on that day. But it's just really difficult to get the permitting agencies to actually close the road down for that day. There's so many different permits we have to get for this event that it's just currently not feasible to do something like close the road. There's private property back there. We actually had a really big issue this year at Fort Misery, which you'll all see. It's pretty unbelievable. They've completely reopened a mine up there, and they're mining again, and they've even changed the course of the road. So we just unfortunately don't have as much pull as we would like on some of these areas. Because if we could close the road, we definitely would.
But you were able to get us through. Did you have to pay?
We are. We took care of it. So.
You did.
Yeah. So we're good to go on all the permits this year. Okay. But it's something, if you've run the race before and you're running this year, you'll definitely see a change right before Fort Misery. Do you have any more closing thoughts?
I don't be afraid of it. Have fun. Spend the night. It's great music. It's just really a sense of camaraderie, seeing everybody, being with people that you have trained with. It's a fun place to be. And don't drive down too soon. The road down can be kind of, yucky.
Yeah, have fun up there.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be having, live music and people going out to the saloon. I mean, that afternoon you can obviously get beer, but that night as well. So it's really a good time. So yeah, we want to thank Kate Hansen for being our first ever guest on the show.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck at the race
Thanks.
on April 2nd, and we look forward to seeing how you do.
Sounds good. I'll
Okay.
finish.
Awesome.
That's all I want to do is finish.